Welcome to this week's episode of Undercurrent. I'm Harrison Jones, your host for the week. For our first story, Alex visited Joondalup Hospital to speak to Desiree Silver, a paediatrician and the co-director of the Origins Project, a study that is examining children and pregnant mothers to find out the causes and likelihood of children developing certain allergies and various other medical conditions.
So I'm here with Professor Desiree Silver, co-director and paediatrician for the Origins Project. What is the Origins Project?
We look at pregnant mums and follow up their children till they're 5 years of age, and we're trying to understand why children are getting lots of what we call non-communicable diseases, and that's things like allergies, asthma, behaviour issues, autism, just to name a few. And we're trying to understand why they're getting these, because it is increasing in number, and also find ways to prevent it from happening.
Okay, so what's involved in this study?
So basically we invite anybody who is pregnant and delivering at the Joondalup Health Campus, because it's a community study. So most people are in the Joondalup Wanneroo area who come here. We get a few others as well. And we invite them to join the study if they are delivering at Joondalup Health Campus. And then if they're eligible to, everyone's eligible to join the study, but once they do join the study, what they need to do is, in pregnancy we see them twice and we ask them lots of different questions, particularly on their environment. Then we take some samples as well from them. And when the baby is born, we get some cord blood and a few other samples from them, plus ask them questions as they're growing older. Now they also get, the advantages of being on Origins is that they get a free paediatrician check at 1, 2.5 and 5 years of age. They also get free allergy testing, which is fantastic because lots of people have allergies these days. They also get an opportunity to have their child's development monitored. So if there's a problem, we intervene and try and direct them to the right source to get the best for their children.
What was the process of starting the Origins Project?
Well, that's really interesting. You should ask me that, because what happened in 2012 is that you have something called the AEDC, which is an Australian Index of Childhood Vulnerability. That's a test that's done on all children in Australia every 3 years. So in 2012, in the pockets of the Wanneroo area, actually showed that kids were really vulnerable. So that's prior to starting school. They've already got some issues, particularly in relation to their emotional vulnerability. So we felt as a hospital that we should do something for our community and actually see if we can reduce these emotional problems that kids have prior to them starting school, and discussed all sorts of possibilities of what we could do. And we thought that doing a small project probably wouldn't actually impact that greatly on the community. So we felt that actually stepping back and actually doing a larger project and offering it to every child where we can follow their development and actually do intervene if they do have issues early on. Because often these kids present with problems early on. It's not just, 6 months before. It's actually gone on for, a good 2 or 3 years prior to them starting school. So if we can intervene early, we think we can change their trajectory. We're not just going to observe children. We're actually going to be doing some interventions with kids while the study's going on. So what I mean by that is that we've already started an intervention called SIMBA, which is looking at prebiotics given to pregnant mothers who have a high risk of allergy, and we follow them up for 6 months. We give them prebiotics till they're 6 months of age and then follow them up at 1 year of age to look to see whether they have reduced allergies. Now what prebiotics is high fibre. So what we're giving them is high fibre so that the good bacteria in their gut can grow well, and we feel that probably is a reason why their immune system might be a problem, by them just not getting adequate good fibre and good bacteria in their gut.
Are there any factors that might affect eligibility?
We'd like to think not. We are working through, obviously, if English is your second language, that can be a problem because we've got lots of web-based questionnaires, but we're actually working through what we call a sub-project to try and, help people who have difficulty in perhaps understanding some of the questions. Because I think, Alex, the important thing about a study is that people actually understand and they ethically, it's important for us to know that they understand what they're signing up for, and that we can explain that in the best possible way.
Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
This week, Annabelle went to the 2018 World Oriental Charm Awards. It was a night full of glitz and glamour, where traditional and modern Asian culture was on full display for a Perth audience. Here's how the night proceeded.
Welcome to the 2018 World Oriental Charm and World Outstanding Women's Achievements Award. This evening we have seen some really inspiring and beautiful women dress the stage and also really representing their Asian culture in Perth society.
The event is about recognizing women talent, women's ability, and empowering them on the public stage. That's what the event is all about.
And who are these women that are the contestants? What kind of women are they?
Oh, well, they are successful business ladies or career ladies or mothers who have raised their children successfully and discovered themselves.
And is this an annual event?
No, it's a biannual event. We have it in Perth because my wife, who is the founder of the event, Sophia, she thinks Perth is a lovely place. And to promote Perth at the same time, bring her contacts, her ladies from Asia, from China, from Hong Kong, and all those countries into Perth. We hope to promote Australia because we are here in Australia. As migrants into this country, we want to give back to the community. We like to think that Australia is a wonderful place. There are a lot of things in Australia that can offer to the world.
There's no doubt that women do play a very important role in our lives, in our community, in business. As entrepreneurs now, as you know, they seem to be evolving a lot more in their contributions. So recognizing women is a very important part of our community as we move forward. Multiculturalism is pretty much the way we celebrate our lives in Western Australia. I am multicultural too, as you can tell. I've been in Perth for 20 years, and the contributions that the whole community makes as a whole is what makes Western Australia a beautiful place to be.
Which one was your favourite contestants and what performance did you enjoy the most?
I mean, you're asking me a very tough question, and it's going to be very difficult for me to pick one in particular or any at all because they were all just absolutely brilliant. I actually have enjoyed the evening, and it's very difficult to pick any one of them. I think they were all my favorite.
Mike, how have you enjoyed the evening tonight?
Very much, very much. It's different in that this is very much a Asian culture, mainly Chinese, where women from throughout Southeast Asia and China come together and have an awards for various things. All of them, by the way, the contestants were married. We need an ethos that our future is with the world, but mainly with Asia in our region. That's where we trade. They're our neighbors. That's our interaction, and it's a very positive one because that's where the growth is in the world. The Chinese community here is very large, over 100,000. It just shows the links we have with Asia and the important links because not only do we have cultural links, we also have massive trade links. So it's very important.
Sherry, congratulations. How do you feel?
Oh, very happy. So happy.
Are you really proud of your Asian culture? Do you want to see it become more prominent in Australia?
是的，是的，非常非常的开心，因为我们这个世界东方魅力这个平台呢，它不只是光是一个外在的美，还有内在的美，内外兼修的美。
Yes, of course, as we would like to build this culture in Australia, not only from the outside, not only charming from the outside, but personal development, to develop themselves, to enhance themselves, to go forward.
And what do all the other contestants this evening represent to you?
代表东方女性的美，她们有企业家，还有一些比较在事业方面很有成就的女性。都是在我们世界东方魅里面的。
The Oriental Charm, in the group there are a lot of entrepreneurs and also a lot of professionals, so they hope to develop and hope that to build that culture, and so that more women can come into this to the society, to this culture, to this platform.
Perfect, thank you very much, congratulations.
谢谢你，再次恭喜你啦。
Wasn't that a night of glitz and glamour? Thank you for watching. I'm Annabelle Panardi reporting for Undercurrent.
Native title is set to be extinguished, and the rights of Aboriginals as ancestral landowners will be wiped out under the current $1.3 billion state government package. Elders say no deal, as voting for the deal was signed by less than 40 people on behalf of 35,000 of which the majority did not get a chance to vote.
Noongar land not for sale.
So this is, to me, and I think to you, far more than simply a native title settlement. I see it as something more than that, but it must be led by Aboriginal people. So you carry on your shoulders, for past generations and future generations, a huge responsibility. There will never be 100% agreement. I think we all understand that. But you have a great opportunity, and if I can dare to say it, a responsibility to do something truly wonderful for Aboriginal people.
If you've got 35,000 people and less than 1,000 of them participate in the vote, I don't really think you can say it's been authorised by everyone.
Members of the representative parties, they represent their own clan groups. They don't represent all clan groups in Noongar country. Noongar country is made up of hundreds of clan groups. So there's an unfairness there that only 30 to 35 people can sign off 6 Iluwas on behalf of 35,000 people, Noongar people.
I was in the group that didn't sign. It was stalemate, and then they changed the law to anybody can sign. A couple of people could sign, even one could sign.
Okay, this whole process has got a history of about 20 or 30 years. It started with the Aboriginal land rights legislation at the national and at state levels. And over the years it's progressed to where it is now, where it's now black law against white law. But the Aboriginal land rights process, claims were placed all around this country, and that was overturned by the federal government, the state government, mainly the federal government at that particular time.
And the Bygrave decision that was made back in 2010, it allowed representative bodies to be able to sign off on native title claimants. The McGlade case challenged that, and we won that, and the government then went back and overturned that decision. So it allows again for one person to sign off on behalf of everyone else.
Their real problem is, why do they have to give up all of their native title rights forever in exchange for whatever benefits might be provided by those agreements?
From Mora, Meriden, Calabarin, Curradine, Klingri, TJ, Gamelling, Wongan, you got Albany, Mount Barker, Trongrups, Kojonup, Busselton, Bunbury, Collie, the whole Perth area, also Beverley, Narrogin. Most of the southwest will be actually stricken out by the native title.
Our current objections and the basis of our application for judicial review by the court is largely two-pronged. One, the proponents of these agreements insisted upon the only people that could vote on the agreements were people that went out to meetings that were held on country for the particular agreements. That meant in some cases people travelling hundreds of kilometres away from Perth. 99% of Noongars live in Perth.
My name is Roberta Penny, and I'm a no voter. And I travelled all the way to Katanning to vote. I've lived in Perth for 48 years, but still we had to go back to Katanning to vote. A busload of us went down. What about the rest that was stranded in Perth and didn't get a chance to vote?
And I was the same at Gingin when I went there. Travelled miles, a lot of people couldn't get there. And all these boats were all rigged. Glenn Kelly spoke for 3 hours and he went on and on. I knew we was up against David and Goliath.
It's as simple as that. They should have designed a voting system which basically took the people with them. And in this instance, they didn't take the large majority of people with them. They just went and rounded up a handful of people, got a vote taken and said that'll do us.
I said you got to let the prisoners vote, because in the Electoral Commission, prisoners are allowed to vote.
Around about 2,500 Noongars were at the time incarcerated in jails throughout Western Australia. None of those prisoners had any opportunity to participate in the vote.
I've worked in the Australian Electoral Commission 10 years, and what they did in the Indigenous Language Agreement, where other people was voting for other people. People's telling people, like the polling booth wasn't private. In the Australian Electoral Commission, people had privacy to voting. People was voting for other people.
Well, if your parents came from Noangrab, you could vote down in Noangrab. But if your grandparents lived over in Bunbury, well, then you also had the right to go to Bunbury. Well, your great-grandfather maybe came from Quairading, so you was allowed to go and vote in Quairading. Well, how many votes were you allowed to have? It don't seem right that they won on those grounds.
The result of that is that the vast majority of Noongars did not participate in these decisions, and in order to vote, they were basically escorted with a huge police presence, which certainly had bad connotations.
There was also a lot of intimidation as well. Very deceptive. This court case here that we're going through now, this is about challenging the process of SWALT, the way that they did not respect the elders as well as the people who were involved in the process. People on the working group were unable to come back and inform family. They felt that they weren't allowed to.
The number of Noongars these days are somewhere between about 15,000 and 35,000, thereabouts. These Indigenous land use agreements were authorised by only 1,500 total votes, 900 to 600. Basic grievances that were taken to the court is, number one, they insisted that everyone had to vote on country and they weren't allowed to have proxy voting or voting by post as you might in a general election anywhere else. And secondly, they wouldn't allow prisoners to participate in the vote.
Noongar not for sale.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Undercurrent stories after the break.